Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to another optimized video. Today, we're going to continue our series. We've done ancient wisdom, modern science, mental toughness, habits, sleep, stoicism. Still got to do Buddhism. Purpose, leadership, productivity. We just did prosperity in the last one. Today, we're going to do, to get to the point, business. We're going to look at how to optimize your business with more wisdom in less time. As always, we've got a 101 class in which I distill 10 of my favorite big ideas, how to create a great business and get paid to change the world, Optimal Business 101 style. We've got a collection of my favorite philosophers' notes, starting at the top with Peter Drucker. Then we've got 4 Disciplines of Execution and a bunch of other notes. And then we also have a collection of plus ones, etc. Wow, we got a lot of books there, way down here. So, quick context creating for those for whom this is your first exposure to optimize. My apologies for the quick context setting. For those who already know what I'm going to say, you can say it for me. Optimize is all about more wisdom in less time. We help you optimize each of those categories we just walked through via what we call Philosopher's Notes, which are 6-page PDF 20-minute MP3 distillations of the best big ideas from 600 of the best personal growth books. You're busy. Perfect. I spent the better part of 10, 15 years reading 600 of those books and distilling the best ideas into those notes. We'll talk about more. And then also creating 50 Optimal Living 101 hour-long classes and then over 1,000 Optimized Plus Ones, all of which is now absolutely free. It used to be a premium offering, $10 a month, $100 a year, $250 lifetime, etc. We made it free as part of my new business, which will be our category today, called Heroic Public Benefit Corporation. So I recently raised $11 million as part of a seed round in which our community made history as the first company to ever close a $5 million round via the new crowdfunding regulations. The prior limit used to be $1 million that you could raise from your community or your crowd. And it went up to $5 million. And the moment that I heard that the regulations were changing, it was the same week I decided to create the business called Heroic. I looked up the crowdfunding regulations and I saw it was changing from $1 million max to $5 million. In that moment, it wasn't a thought. It was just boom, we're going to do it. We're going to be the first company to ever raise $5 million from our community. And then I proceeded to go out and see if we could make it happen. Now, we sent out an email. I didn't know if we'd be able to make it happen. I was pretty confident, but you don't know until you hit send on the email. And we were blessed to receive over $5 million of commitments within, I don't know the exact time frame. I mean, it was $1 million almost immediately, then 2, 3, 4, 5, within 24 hours, 36, 48. I don't know the exact timing there, but within hours after sending the email, we pushed way past 5 million, and we wound up oversubscribing an $11 million round from 2,500 investors in our optimized community, and 75 countries, and we made history, etc. And now we're working on Heroic. This is a collection of notes underneath my vow to our investors, a collection of notes from our community saying why they were excited to invest in our business. Anyway, long prelude. Heroic now owns Optimize. Optimize is now free to help catalyze the movement and our business. We still have a premium offering via the Mastery Series and Coach you can learn more about. And the Heroic app we're building, we will be launching in April, and it will be awesome. I'm excited. It's a training platform for heroes. We'll help you move from theory to practice using the best of habit building software with a lot of these ideas to help you become the best, most heroic version of yourself more soon. For now, Optimal Business 101, 10 big ideas in that class. Again, the distillation of my last 20 years, 25 years. I've spent half the time as a founder CEO, the other half as a philosopher. I actually don't cover dozens of business books I've read. So when I started Philosopher's Notes, it wasn't about business books per se. It was about personal growth. So I didn't actually feature all the books I've read on Jim Collins, Good to Great, Built to Last, Great from the Start. A lot of books on marketing and strategy, etc., are not in the library here that I highly recommend. Jim Collins is my go-to strategic thinker on business, full stop. He's basically the 21st century version of Peter Drucker, which is why Peter Drucker is in the first slot here. Peter Drucker, if you want to understand how to lead and manage a business, etc., this is basically a must-read. The Effective Executive, 20th century, so it's old school, dated in some ways, yet eternal in others. This book is fantastic. I love the notes. Let's just go here and check it out. So again, a philosopher's note takes this 208-page book and distills it into a 6-page PDF in which I pull out, the highlighter effect is this part of the book that the author wrote. I pull out the big ideas, those sections you asterisk and underline and mark all up, and then I riff on them, connect them to other books, and then kick you in the butt to challenge you to go live them. It's my dog Zeus. So Drucker's amazing. A handful of ideas here that are life-changing. And, it can really help shape your business. Check it out. And as I've said, any one of these ideas can literally change your life. And in the 600 Philosopher's Notes, each of them has at least 5 ideas. A few have 4, but 5 plus ideas. So there's 3,000 ideas by some of the best thinkers across all these different subjects. In addition to reading that note via the PDF, you can also read it on the web and on our app. Here's a book on execution. The 4 Disciplines of Execution. These guys are related to the Franklin Covey movement. Chris McKesney, Sean Covey, Jim Hewling, awesome book. So check it out. Learn more about what the 4 disciplines of execution are that will help you achieve your wildly important goals. And again, one of the rules is you can't go after everything. You got to know the very few things that are actually going to move the needle for you, and then ruthlessly focus on those high leverage gains. It's the essence of good strategy. Most people aren't willing to do the hard craft of strategy. That's a line from a great book called Good Strategy, Bad Strategy. And the hard craft of strategy requires you to make decisions. You got to decide, cut off, décider, what are you not going to do? And then go all in on the 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 highest important things. But you want to focus. Ray Dalio, we've mentioned a couple of times, one of the most successful, influential people. His book, Principles, again, super powerful. You got Bill Gates, Tony Robbins on the cover there. Ray Dalio has provided me with invaluable guidance and insights that are now available to you in Principles. Thank you, Bill Gates. He's worth paying attention to. One of the big things that he talks about is the fact you got to be willing to make mistakes. Your ultimate goal should be to evolve as a human being. And I'm doing this little spiraling up. And then he says that you got to get really excited about making mistakes. You got to know that when you set an aggressive goal, you will fall short. You will fail. Perfect. Get excited about it. Have what he calls a mistake learner's high. What Carol Dweck would call a growth mindset. Use that data to get better. And then take the data in, create a new system that will solve the problem that you faced, and then create a new goal and spiral up, and then repeat that with velocity. Dan Pink, great thinker, great author. To Sell is Human, fantastic book on motivating others, etc. Brilliant. Goes away from always be selling, A, B, C, or whatever it is. Always be closing, ABCs. He gives us a new set of ABCs, which are super powerful. Check that out. Peter Sims's Little Bets. You make little bets, and those little bets can aggregate and compound into big things when you're in the game, you're trying things. Smart Cuts, another great book by Shane Snow. Dave Ramsey, I'm a big fan of his work. 20 years of practical business wisdom from the trenches in his book called Entre Leadership. Alan Cohen takes a spiritual approach, and spirit means business. The way to prosper wildly without selling your soul. If you're more into the laid-back style, then Alan Cohen's your guy. You're more into the Navy SEAL style, then Alden Mills is your guy. Check out his book, Unstoppable Teams. Mark Devine's Way of the SEAL. We've got a whole Navy SEAL collection of books you'll enjoy. You know what? I need to put Unstoppable Teams in this section as well. We've got a great 101 class from Alden Mills, Unstoppable Teams 101. I'm going to put that in. By the time you see this, we'll have that in. How about Darren Hardy, the entrepreneur roller coaster? It's going to be challenging. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have mistakes. Perfect. He's the former publisher of Success Magazine. Brilliant guy. Gary Vaynerchuk, obviously super powerful, marketing strategist, etc. Check out this book. Get some of his burst of energy, the notes, some of my favorite big ideas. How about The One Thing? Gary Keller created the largest real estate company in the world. The one thing. What's the most important thing? He takes the 40X guy's idea in his own way and helps us focus on what is truly most high leverage. Great, great book. Highly recommend the book. Hope you enjoy the note. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People was the very first self-development book I ever read. 21 years old. Changed my life. Deeply respect Stephen Covey, his commitment to virtue and personal and I should say primary greatness, which is the next book we cover. Fantastic. His whole thing is be a success. Live with virtue. Everything else is secondary. Be a good human being, serving profoundly, doing the best you possibly can. That is primary greatness. Everything else is a downstream effect of that. Amen. Thank you and bless you, Dr. Covey. Then we've got a collection of leadership books, which is basically, from our leadership category. I had the team put our leadership titles here because great business leadership is obviously predicated on great leadership. So check out our notes on Doris Kearns Goodwin's Leadership in Turbulent Times. Unbelievably powerful. Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner's Leadership Challenge. How to Make Extraordinary Things Happen in Organizations. Lead Yourself First by Raymond Kethledge and Mike Irwin. Mike created a class for us as well, Lead Yourself First. Part of the Optimized program for free, etc. John Maxwell on leadership, Warren Bennis on leadership, Robin Sharma on leadership, Jocko Willink on leadership, some of the best thinkers on the subject. Colin Powell, who just passed away, which breaks my heart. Such a good human being. It worked for me. His wisdom on leadership. Todd Henry shares some wisdom in Louder Than Words. And then I got Grit here by Angela Duckworth. It's fascinating, the research on venture capitalists and the type of entrepreneurs they invest in. Business plans are important, but business plans are going to change. Very few companies raise money on the plan they execute, right? It goes from plan A, no, that didn't work. Plan B, C, D, E, F. Venture capitalists and wise investors know the plan that's pitched is rarely the plan that works. So what they invest in is the character of the entrepreneur, which is why I focused on that so much in the prosperity thing, and why you could actually say that every single note in our collection on all the categories we help you optimize are business books, because you need to have the consciousness to actually create something in the face of all the challenges. And as one of my mentors once told me, your consciousness is your company's greatest asset. Therefore, the things you do to prioritize your consciousness, eating, moving, sleeping, exercising, deep work time in a bubble, these are the most important activities in your day, but most people don't get that. Most people don't get their consciousness is their most valuable asset, and then they do really silly things that they would never do to an actual business asset. They don't prioritize the most important meetings of the day. Mine is my hour of meditation in the morning. Nothing will interrupt that. Then it's my deep work before I allow inputs in. Nothing will interrupt that. Then the number one thing I do business-wise is I end my day at a reasonable time, depending on the season, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then I get a good night of sleep so I can wake up feeling great and repeat it. Anyway, I share all that because grit is super important. We've got a note on that book. That's what investors invest in, is your entrepreneurial grit, ability to bounce back, etc. We've also included some notes on goal setting, rethinking positive thinking, the science of that, turning your dreams into a reality, the science of goals called Succeed. And then I dropped in some other prosperity notes here, Spiritual Economics by Butterworth, Wealth Warrior by Chandler, So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport, and a bunch of other great books I think that you will enjoy. Then we have the plus ones. So the plus ones have given me a kind of an avenue to express some ideas that didn't make it into Philosopher's Notes, like my thoughts on capitalism. So how do we optimize capitalism? What are businesses really for? I've got some plus ones on that. Business as a force for good, investment strategies, etc. I interviewed John Mackey, who's been one of my deepest influences. If you haven't read his debate with Milton Friedman from a couple decades, 15 years ago or something, Google Milton Friedman, John Mackey, Reason Magazine, and check it out. It moved me to tears to see a man, John Mackey, who deeply admires Milton Friedman and the idea of free markets, of course, but also said that business should be based on love, and that he built Whole Foods with love as the core engine. Totally moved me when I first read that 15 years ago, shaped me as a younger entrepreneur. And I interviewed him about this, and we also talked about an idea called Ready, Fire, Aim, being willing to go out and test things in order to figure out what's going to work. I also talk about Jim Collins's hedgehog concept, how great businesses and great lives are created. What do you love to do so much that you'd pay it? What can you be great at? And what does the world need, and are they willing to pay for? You want to create a business at the nexus point of those three things. I have journaled this particular exercise dozens and dozens and dozens of times as I've spiraled up in clarity as to who I am and how I can give myself to the world. We've got some great Brian Tracy wisdom in there, Ray Dalio again, and then dozens of other plus ones I hope you find helpful as you strive to optimize business with more wisdom in less time, all of which leads us to the 101, 10 big ideas, chapters here on the left. We start by defining what optimal capitalism looks like. We talk about you as the number one asset. We talk about the importance of having a purpose beyond just making money. And I riff on some ideas from John Mackey and Raj Sisodia's great book called Conscious Capitalism. I'll load the worksheet while we talk about that. So conscious capitalism movement talks about what makes a conscious business conscious, right? So there's a few things that make a conscious business conscious or an optimal business optimal. The first and most important is they are purpose-driven. So most, quote, normal businesses exist for one reason, which is to make money. In fact, a C corporation has only one fiduciary responsibility to its, period. It's to their investor class to maximize their investor return. Now, if that's the CEO's only fiduciary responsibility, you can get away with doing things that are not in the best interest of the public good. You want to see what happens when companies are run with that as the principal motive instead of a bigger purpose? Read the cover of your favorite newspaper or blog. Which is why we created Heroic as a public benefit corporation. Again, a longer chat. But Heroic is a public benefit corporation. I, as the CEO of Heroic, have a fiduciary responsibility to not just my investor group. Of course, we need to create a healthy business that has healthy profits so our investor shareholders get a great return. And I am also fiduciarily responsible to society, our partners, our investors, our customers, and our employees. SPICE is how the conscious capitalism folks talk about it. You see that here. SPICE. I have a multi-stakeholder orientation. My purpose is to change the world by helping you become the best, most heroic version of yourself. That's what I live for. I want to create a world in which, I want to help create a world in which 51% of the world's population is flourishing by the year 2051. It's the positive psychology movement's moonshot goal. It's become ours. That's my purpose. Then I have a multiple stakeholder orientation. I am not just accountable to our investors. I am accountable to society at large, our partners, customers, and employees. And I've often said that if Facebook, for example, was a public benefit corporation, it would, to be very direct, be illegal for them to do some of the things they're doing because they're making decisions with one investor group in mind. How do we maximize profit? Leads to what some could call a moral bankruptcy. And if we can shift that such that the broader lens was applied and there was a bigger purpose, and of course, People at Facebook are trying to do the right thing for the most part, and they're earnest for the most part, yet their compass is a little bit off, and their overall corporate structure is a little bit off. And we'd benefit from having more companies that are fiduciarily held to higher standards to be a true benefit to the public. I'll get off my soapbox. Purpose-driven, multiple stakeholder orientation, and then the leadership needs to be conscious. Again, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said 150 years ago, an institution is the lengthened shadow of a single person. An institution is the lengthened shadow of a single person. If the leadership is not conscious and optimized, guess what? The entire organization is going to be tilted in a vicious direction versus a virtuous direction. So it's a leader's responsibility to do the hard work, to craft their own consciousness. And then in addition to purpose-driven, multiple stakeholder orientation, and being conscious leaders or aspiring to be, we want to create a conscious culture in which the team is supported to become the best versions of themselves. We're a tiny business right now, but our standard is, can we create the greatest place to work out there? Can we help people truly actualize their potential in service to something bigger than themselves? That's what a conscious business, some elements of a conscious business and optimal capitalism would look like. One final thing on the purpose-driven nature. I forget who said it, but one of the phrases is, a company needs profits in order to survive. Just like a human being needs healthy red blood cells in order to survive. So a human being needs healthy red blood cells in order to live. But a human being doesn't live for their red blood cells. They live for something bigger than themselves, their families, their communities, the work that they do in the world, right? Their creative endeavors. They have a purpose beyond just getting their red blood cells healthy. The red blood cells are just a vehicle to the destination of doing meaningful work. Well, a business needs healthy profits the same way a human body needs healthy red blood cells, but a great business doesn't live for the profits alone. A great business is purpose-driven. They use those profits in service to something bigger than themselves. I absolutely love that phrase, and that's a big theme in this book. Before I teach the whole class, I will pause. We obviously go through some other ideas. That's Optimal Business 101 in a big nutshell. In our Optimized Business category, all these notes and the plus ones, I really hope that helps you go to the next level in every sense with your business. And there you go. That's all I got for today. What am I going to cover next? Let me look at the whiteboard. Oh, we got fatherhood next. We're going to do parenting next. So scrolling through the list of things, we're going to talk about relationships soon. We're going to go to parenting next. So I'm really committed to being not just an exemplary entrepreneur, a social entrepreneur, and leader, but also a great father and husband. And frankly, it's a lot easier for me to show up powerfully in work at times than it is as a husband and father. I mean, that's the most challenging area, right? So we have 2 classes in Optimized Parenting I'll talk about. My wife will talk about Mamahood 101, where she shares some of her awesome wisdom. And I have a class called Fatherhood 101, in which I talk about how to win Dad of the Year while doing your life's work. You're not trading off. You get your energy dialed in, you get your work dialed in, and you get your love dialed in. We call that the big 3. We'll talk about that more soon. That's all I got for now. Let's optimize every aspect of our lives so we can go out and be the best, most heroic versions of ourselves, so we can serve as profoundly as we possibly can and make a difference in the world. Make today an awesome day. Look forward to sharing more with you soon. See you.